Hey guys, this is Master of Flowers. This video is going to be a request video by one of my subscribers, Music Man 53100. His question is about maps, and specifically in the PM, he had asked my opinions versus basically on whether computer aided cartography, like Cartographer 3, is better um, than hand drawn pencil and paper or pen and paper. I think he's asked a couple people, and I noticed that the other day Andrew had done a video on the maps, so I'm gonna try not to cover the stuff that Andrew covered since he made a lot of good points, and I'm also going to link this video to Andrew's video so that they're in the same spot as they hopefully don't completely overlap but have information that could be useful to someone. Now, from my point of view, I don't think there's anything wrong with using an online cartographer program. I tried to find some cons to it. When I was researching it in my head, trying to figure out which one was better overall. I don't usually use the online, so I tried to wanted to be as unbiased as possible. So the only thing that I thought that really stood out, besides having to learn the cartographer, which should be fairly easy, I don't think it's an extremely difficult program to use, would be the loss of the maps if something happened to your computer. So if you're not running an external hard drive where you're backing up, or you don't have an online database that you back up to, then you could lose all that work. Now, that's not usually going to happen with pen and paper, though I guess with a fire or something you could lose all your maps, but I think you'd lose your computer too at the same time. So I couldn't find a reason comparatively that paper wins in that instance. But just for the most part, even with your computers, I recommend backing up to everyone that I talk to. You never know when your computer's going to break, or a virus is going to hit, or something crazy is going to happen where you're going to lose your information, or even just losing the use of your computer. I can't imagine what say like when I lost my computer for a week. If I had all my gaming information on there, I would have had to basically pull it out of my butt and just kind of hope I remembered everything correctly, and run the game on that Sunday without it. But I definitely think that the cartographer, from what I've seen other people drawing and put out there, that I like the program. It seems to be a pretty decent program, and I think that other programs or any type of online thing can be very useful. There's a lot of different things you can do, like you can hook up to your PowerPoint, you can project it to a wall, or you can move the map or any information that's on your computer onto your TV to show your players. Um, those are all things that I think are extremely useful. You can email to your players. There's just tons of stuff that you can do with it, and I think that it's extremely useful. I think on the other hand, you have the paper and pencil. I don't think there's any learning time. Most people know how to use a pen, and most people know how to use a pencil, an eraser, and I'm pretty positive you know how to use paper. So there's that ease of use, and you're not going to lose that information for the most part. I think that organizationally, it's probably, once you have a lot of maps, it can be a little harder to keep organized than on an online system where you kind of file everything. If you start everything organized as you're creating it, then it should be fairly organized and easy to get to when once you get done with it on the computer. For me, it's a little different to say what is better. I've been gaming for a long time. Um, I started making maps, and probably like, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s when I started creating stuff, and the computers we had at that time were not really useful for making maps or anything like that. I think that for me, once you have enough maps made, um, yeah, I guess for me I don't make as many maps as I used to when I was younger. I made tons and tons of maps, all different types of city maps, continent maps, remakes of continent maps, remakes of city maps, and I've worked through those over the years so that I have a huge collection of maps that I have. Now, once you've been playing your game for so many years, I'm not talking in-game time, I'm talking like real life like, years, I have a huge assortment of maps that I've previously made that I can grab. Say, for some reason, I don't feel like making a dwarven mine up, and I need one. They can be, laborious. They can be extremely hard to do and time-consuming to make up a huge dwarven complex. I can just grab one of my older complexes, tweak it, make a few changes on it, and then bang, I already have a ready-made map. Now, I could always go online and get a map. There's, tons of people putting stuff and information out there to be used. That's free. You just Google it and you'll find tons of people putting stuff out there, and not just within their systems and within other published systems, but just regular people like you and I who just make up a map and say, I'll put it online, put it on my website. If someone wants to use it, they can use it. So there's plenty of that out there to use. I kind of went on a little tangent. Let me get back just to make sure. So basically, as far as my opinion goes, I always use pen and paper, pencil and paper, because I always carry a pad with me. There are times when, if I'm sitting down watching TV, I might actually, draw a map while I'm doing it. Or if I'm waiting for the, I don't know, say I ordered dinner and it's going to be delivered or something. That 20 minutes, I can draw up a map pretty quickly, and I don't have to worry about turning the computer on and off or whatever. So there's a convenience there for me. I know that a lot of that can be done with a laptop, so if you have a laptop, it's perfectly capable of doing that as well. So I know that there's that similarity, but I just find that using the paper and pencil, it's a little bit easier. I don't really have anyone. I just don't have any. I don't have any problems with it. As far as design of the map making and how to, has to be someone out there that's way more artistic than I. Like, Brian Beachy Trokia, he did a good job on his map that I saw for his new setting. He had put that up, a couple videos in there. Meta Rockwell, he's got tons of artistic talent. You can see what he did. Was it Outsider 68? He put out some stuff on how to staining your maps and stuff to make them look good, and I think he put out some more videos on map making. So there's a lot of people out there who have put information out there, and I know that you had said you had searched around, so I know that you've come across some maps and some videos on how to's and stuff. So I don't really want to get into that, as I think that everyone has their own style. Now, I am not artistic at all. Not that artistic gene is totally missing in my body. I don't have any musical talent. I don't have any artistic drawing or sculpting or any type of talent at all. So my maps are fairly crude, though I build them in an analytical way that I can understand, and that's, they work fine for that. And it doesn't matter to me what it looks like, what my map looks like. The players, if I'm drawing a map for the players, it's a different story. I go about it differently. But if it's for me, I draw it to the way I understand it, and it's almost like, written in my own language, in some sort of encrypted form. And people might look at it and say, "Oh, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that?" Well, it makes sense to me, and I understand it. So that's really all that matters. I don't need you to understand what those symbols are, or what that symbol is, or why the water is brown instead of blue. That stuff doesn't really matter. One thing I tell you is, you've already started. I think you said you were designing your continent map, and I think Andrew had touched on it, that you definitely need your major continent map. Unless you're just going to do a one-off, then it doesn't matter. But if you're going to do a setting, and you definitely want at least the major continent where the player is going to be playing on. Now, in my world, I actually have 2 major continents set up and some small island systems, but I've only used one continent I did touch on the other continent in one of my campaigns that I ran, but they didn't really do much on it. So I actually have this huge, you know, canvas that I can go to eventually if I run out of room on the the continent that I'm working on now, which I don't think it is, because it's so huge. The scale is ginormous, which that's one thing to kind of look at too, is check out your scaling when you're first doing it. Make sure you don't make a continent it's so big. I guess getting back to the original point, your original question was, what do I prefer? And to be very specific and concise, I prefer pen and paper. I like its convenience. I like the way it looks. I like to go into an old shelf, my old stack of books, and pull out an old pad and go through it and look at the notes and the keys and even the smudges. And there's something about that being able to touch it and hold it, and maybe that makes me kind of a, I don't know, I don't know what it makes me, but it just that holding those maps and then going over them bring back memories for myself. And so I'm always going to draw them, because I know that in 5 years from now or 10 years from now, if I go back and I look at one of these folders where there's a thing in it, not only will I see the map, but the map will remind me of what the players did and what that game was like and how all that ran. Excuse me. If I have a really good game session, I can go back to that, and it'll help. It'll give me that visual feel, and it'll let me remember what had happened. Yeah, I think that would be the biggest reason why I keep the handwritten, handmade maps. Yeah, it's that saving it for posterity, for me to look at it in the future and say, you know, was that adventure successful? Did the players enjoy that? And what does that stain mean, or that mark on the map? Oh, that's right. I put that there when one of the players killed the dragon. Yeah, I like that about the maps, and I like the fact that especially in these busy times where I don't have as much time as I like, being able to grab an older map. I'm able to grab a map that I made 25 years ago. None of my players are going to remember that map, or if they do, they're smarter and better than I am. And it probably doesn't matter what maps I bring out; they don't really care. Won't care. So those are the major draws for me. And the only negative, like I had said, that I could think of for having all your information on your computer would be that you could lose it. So I guess as long as you back up, make sure to be smart about it. Even if you just use a rewritable CD and you back it up and take it out of your computer and keep it safe, it shouldn't be a problem. And I guess you could also draw them up and then do up hard copies anyway, so if you really wanted to. So you could always put them in a binder or a folder and protect them that way. So Music Man, besides that, if you have any other questions pertaining to the map making, or there was something specific that you really wanted, you were very, I know that from the PMs that we had, the discussion back and forth, that you were starting your own system, your own campaign setting, and I have some ideas, like you were saying you wanted some, an Asian type background in one section, an English section, when you wanted technology, and when you wanted, stick with kind of a samurai versus ninja type, Civil War type battle in that area. So I know that you have ideas and you want to really get these ideas out there. So if you have any other questions, and not just in map making, anything in campaign setting, put it out there. I'm sure your people won't mind responding, and there's a lot of smarter people than I am on here, so that they definitely could help you as well. Just the community is very open and very helpful. So I would just try to, I wish when I first started gaming I had a resource like this, where there were a lot of people who would actually take the time to respond to me, even with just a comment. It's just a huge thing to be able to get information back from people. That give and take is awesome, and to be able to touch so many like-minded people, where maybe in an area where you don't have those people, like where I live, there's very few people who game. So if I wanted to ask this question and say, not including my players, I can ask 5 or 6 people about it and get their opinion. But I can come online and put the question out there and maybe get 30 or 40 different responses from people all over the world. That's a pretty awesome thing. So, hope this was somewhat helpful to you. This is the 8th time I've done it, because my computer keeps messing up, so I'm sure that I've missed something that I think I said during the video that I didn't this time, or I omitted. If there's anything else you need to know, just ask me, and I'll try to get back to you. Alright, take it easy, guys.